So this morning we'll be reading from the 10th canto, 2nd chapter, text number 28. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami, Srila Prabhupada. The efficient cause of this material world, manifested with its many varieties as the original tree, is you, O Lord. You are also the maintainer of this material world, and after annihilation, you are the one in whom everything is conserved. Those who are covered by your external energy cannot see you behind this manifestation, but theirs is not the vision of learned devotees. Purport. Various demigods, beginning from Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and even Vishnu, are supposed to be the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of this material world. But actually, they are not. The fact is that everything is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, manifested in varieties of energies. Ekam eva vityam Brahma. There is no second existence. Those who are truly vipaschita, learned, are those who have reached the platform of understanding and observing the Supreme Personality of Godhead in any condition of life. Premanjana churito bhakti vilochana. The learned devotees accept even conditions of distress as representing the presence of the Supreme Lord. When the devotee is in distress, he sees that the Lord has appeared as distress just to relieve or purify the devotee from the contamination of the material world. While one is within this material world, one is in various conditions, and therefore a devotee sees the condition of distress as but another feature of the Lord. Tatte anukampam susam sikam samana, Bhagavatam 10:14-8. A devotee therefore regards distress as a great favor of the Lord because he understands that he is being cleansed of contamination. Tesam aham samudharita mrityu samsara sagrata, Bhagavad Gita 12:7. The appearance of distress is a negative process intended to give the devotee relief from this material world, which is called mrityu samsara, or the constant repetition of birth and death. To save the surrendered soul from repeated birth and death, the Lord purifies him of contamination by offering a little distress. This cannot be understood by the non-devotees, but the devotee can see this because he is vipaschit or learned. A non-devotee therefore is perturbed in distress, but the devotee welcomes distress as another feature of the Lord. Sarvam kevala eidam Brahma. A devotee can actually see that there is only the Supreme Personality of Godhead and no second entity. Ekam eva vidyatam. There is only the Lord who is present himself in different energies. Persons who are not in real knowledge think that Brahma is the creator, Vishnu is the maintainer, Shiva is the annihilator, and that the different demigods are intended to fulfill diverse purposes. Thus they create diverse purposes and worship various demigods to have these purposes fulfilled. A devotee, however, knows that these various demigods are but different parts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that these parts need not be worshipped, as the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 9:23. Yapi anya devata bhakta yajanti shraddhaya vita te api mam eva kuntaya yajanti avidhi purvakam. Whatever a man may sacrifice to other gods, O son of Kunti, is really meant for me alone, but it is offered without true understanding. There is no need to worship the demigods, for this is avidhi, not in order. Simply by surrendering oneself at the lotus feet of Krishna, one can completely discharge one's duties. There is no need to worship various deities or demigods. These various divinities are observed by the mudhas, fools, who are bewildered by the three modes of material nature, Tribhir Gunamayar Bhaver Evi Sarvam Idam Jagat. Such fools cannot understand that the real source of everything is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mohitam nabijananti mam evaya param avyayam. Not being disturbed by the Lord's various features, one should concentrate upon the worship of the Supreme, mamekam sharanam vraja. This should be the guiding principle of one's life. Om Jnanatvinandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshusmritam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurue Namaha Vanchakalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyascha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I will just read the beginning of the chapter where Prabhupada is giving a brief analysis of the second chapter, Praise by the Demigods for Lord Krishna in the Womb. As described in this chapter, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead entered the womb of Devaki to kill Kansa, all the demigods understood that the Lord was living within Devaki's womb, and therefore with veneration they offered him the Garbha-Shruti praise. Kansa, under the protection of his father-in-law Jarasandha, and with the help of his demoniac friends like Palambara, Baka, Chanura, Trinavarta, Agasura, Mustika, Bana, Bhumasura, began oppressing the members of the Yadu dynasty. Therefore the members of the Yadu dynasty left their homes and sought shelter in such states as Kuru, Panchala, Kayaka, Salva, Vidarbha. Only some of them stayed with Kansa as nominal friends. After Kansa killed the Sadgarbhas, the 6 sons of Devaki, one after another, Anantadev entered Devaki's womb and was transferred to the womb of Rohini by the manipulation of Yoga Maya, who was following the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord himself, who was soon to appear as the 8th son of Devaki, ordered Yoga Maya to take birth in the womb of Yashoda Devi. Because Krishna and his potency, Yoga Maya, appear simultaneously as brother and sister, the world is full of Vaishnavas and Shaktas, and there is certainly some rivalry between them. Vaishnavas worship the Supreme Lord, whereas Shaktas, according to their desire, worship Yoga Maya in the form of Durga, Bhadrakali or Chandika. Following the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yoga Maya transferred Baladev, Sankarshan, the 7th child of Devaki, from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. Because Sankarshan appeared in order to increase the love of Krishna, he is known as Baladev. One may take auspicious strength from him to become a devotee of the Lord, and therefore he is also known as Balabhadra. After Yoga Maya transferred the 7th child of Devaki to the womb of Rohini, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared within the heart of Vasudeva and transferred himself into the heart of Devaki. Because the Lord was present in the heart of Devaki, as the pregnancy continued, appeared effulgent. Upon seeing this effulgence, Kansa was full of anxiety, but he could not harm Devaki because of their family relationship. Thus he began indirectly thinking of Krishna and became fully Krishna conscious. Meanwhile, because of the Lord's presence in the womb of Devaki, all the demigods came to offer the Lord their prayers. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, they said, is eternally the absolute truth. The spirit soul is more important than the gross body, and the super soul, Paramatma, is still more important than the soul. And the Supreme Personality of Godhead is absolutely independent, and his incarnations are transcendental. The prayers of the demigods glorified the exalted devotees and explained the fate of persons who superficially consider themselves liberated from the condition of material nature. A devotee is always safe. When the devotee fully surrenders at the lotus feet of the Lord, he is completely liberated from the fear of material existence. By explaining why the Supreme Personality of Godhead descends, the prayers of the demigods clearly confirms the Lord's statement in the Bhagavad Gita 4:7. Yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata abhyutanam dharmasya tadatvanam sajami aham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline of religious principle or descendant of Bharata, a predominant rise of religion, at that time I descend myself. So from these prayers of demigods, we can understand that they were fully aware of the Supreme Lord, as Prabhupada mentions in the brief explanation in the beginning of the chapter, in the summary of the whole second chapter of this 10th canto, where the demigods were perfectly aware that the Supreme Lord is about to come into the material world and perform his transcendental pastimes, and therefore they were offering prayers. But then sometimes we see that the demigods, when they are performing their allocated duties, they sometimes become so gross in their duties that they forget the presence of the Supreme Lord. Sometimes we have seen in the different pastimes where Indra is causing a lot of problem, and is thinking that who is this child who is getting all the worship and honor when the offering was meant for me. So when Nanda Maharaj was offering all the offerings to Indra, little Krishna is saying to his father, why are you offering to this Indra? Who is he? What is the value of offering to him? What is the benefit we get? So of course, Nanda Maharaj is explaining to Krishna that by offering to Indra, he brings shower, rains at time, and because of that, all the vegetables and fruits and grains grow, and that's bountiful of produce so that we can survive. And he said, no, father, that is not the truth. The truth is that Govardhan is our supplier. Govardhan gives everything to us. Therefore, offer everything to Govardhan. So Indra, of course, began to feel that, hey, what is this young boy taking away all my offerings and my worship? So, of course, we know from the story of lifting of Govardhan, where Indra is causing so much problems. But he doesn't realize that here is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But prior, as we see, when Krishna was about to appear in this material world, all the demigods, including Indra, is offering prayers. Because they appreciate that there is none other than the Supreme Lord. There is no second. And then the verse which I have chosen, the 28th verse, clearly explains that a devotee sees Krishna in everything, in every aspect, without considering that Krishna is only in certain places or in certain objects. We are not mindful of seeing Krishna everywhere. Of course, the process of Krishna consciousness is teaching us to become very, very mindful and learn to see Krishna everywhere. Even to the extent in this particular purport where Prabhupada is explaining that if some distress comes upon a devotee, he sees that also as the blessings of the Lord. He sees that as indirectly the Lord himself. But when we get suffering, we begin to curse everyone that why this pain is coming to me. Of course, we know from the scriptures, there's three kinds of miseries which are forced upon a living entity: adibhotik, adhyatmic, adidevic. So, adibhotik is trouble caused by other living entities. Adhyatmic, trouble caused by our own mind. And adidevic, caused by the demigods being upset with their offerings are not done in time and not done in proper respect. So, of course, he shows, or the demigods show their power sometimes in the forms of droughts, pestilence, earthquakes, volcano eruptions, tsunamis, and so many other kinds of natural destructions. And those powers are so powerful that even the most intelligent of intelligent men, thinking that we have all the technology and knowledge, can still do nothing against this power of nature. But the devotee, he sees that whatever situation is there, it is his own doing. Prabhupada explains that if sometimes the devotee is suffering something from other living entities, specifically, we see that other persons are cause of our misery. We blame them, that these are the people who are making trouble for me. But Prabhupada explains that if you are a devotee, you would think, why is this person causing problem for me? Why is he putting so many obstacles in my path? And the devotee thinks that is because I did something wrong to him in my past existence. And therefore, it is payback time. So once I pay back, the balance is zero. And then there is no balance to give or take, then you are free from all contamination, free from all obligations. And that is where, in the Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna is recommending to Arjuna that neither perform pious deeds nor impious deeds. Simply perform bhakti, simply perform devotional act. Because as soon as you do pious deeds, then you will be again entangling yourself for the results of pious deeds you may do. You may be born, as is explained in the Gita also, Suchinam Simpatam Gehe, that you may be born in a very aristocratic family, very wealthy family, very prestigious family, and you may have all the opulence, and as they say, born with the silver spoon in the mouth, and you have everything. But you will forget Krishna. On the other hand, you are put in a very distressed and miserable position. You know, and we see many living entities who are suffering very, very serious disabilities. But that is because of their impious acts. So of course Krishna is saying, perform neither. But once we have performed these acts, either good or bad, when we come to the platform of devotional life, and this is of course by the causeless mercy of Guru and Gauranga, that our eyes are open, as we pray, sing the morning prayer, He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. By the mercy of the spiritual master, He opens our eyes to reality, and He shows what is our real position. And therefore, we act on that platform. And what is that? That we are now trying to surrender to the Supreme Lord. And when we surrender to the Supreme Lord, then, as explained in this purport by Prabhupada, that Supreme Lord will come to your aid. He's your best well-wisher. He's your friend. But He will not prevent you from your sinful reactions, which the reactions which you are supposed to suffer. Because how you will get purified? Because there is always going to be give and take of bringing the books to balance, where the balance brought forward is zero. There's nothing left over. Sometimes there's negativity, sometimes there's positivity. You know, if your accounts, you will know that if you're in profit and you bring balance forward, you'll have a big amount to bring forward, and that is your profit. And if you're going in a loss, then you bring balance forward, is a negativity, you know, plus 1,000 pounds or minus 1,000 pounds. Either way, you know, you have something which will again come back to haunt you. But here, in the principle of devotional service, is that when you engage in devotional service, all these things are taken away from you. But there is, as Prabhupada explains, that sometimes Krishna is very kind that upon His devotees, that He gives them a token suffering, just to bring the books into balance and bring the balance to zero. But this suffering will come. But we take it in the right spirit, as Prabhupada mentioned this purport, that it is mercy of the Supreme Lord. And in the beginning of the chapter where Prabhupada is giving the summary of the whole chapter, Prabhupada is mentioning the Kansa. Although he knows that the 8th child of Devaki is the cause of his death, already he has killed the 6 children of Devaki. The 7th one, he could not kill because the Balaram was transferred from the womb of Devaki into the womb of Rohini. And the 8th one, when Krishna was born, he was going to be the cause of his death. But even prior, as he sees, as Prabhupada explains, when Krishna appeared in the heart of Vasudeva and then transferred from his heart to Devaki's heart, and the pregnancy was progressing, Devaki was becoming more and more beautiful and effulgent. So Kansa knew something, that there is something happening here. And because of that, even though he's negatively thinking about Krishna, Prabhupada mentions here that he becomes fully Krishna conscious. Just see that even though Kansa is thinking negatively about Krishna, who is going to be the end of him, still because he's thinking about Krishna, Krishna is so kind that he rewards him to become Krishna conscious. And of course, he still continued to become crazy in his, even though he was blessed to become Krishna conscious, because he was overwhelmed by the power as he was bestowed upon, that he was doing all kinds of atrocities. And finally Krishna came and killed him. and freed him from his illusion and his demoniac body of Kansa, and he got liberation. So one who is a devotee, and if as a devotee you develop love for Krishna, can you imagine how much Krishna is going to reciprocate with you? As we develop more and more love for Krishna, Krishna will show his love in return. And as Krishna shows his love in more and more return, the more and more you will feel stronger and stronger attachment for Krishna. To the point where you will think that nothing else matters in this world, only Krishna matters. But that point will come. If not today, then tomorrow. It will not come overnight. Of course, unless until you realize your absolute position that you are Jivere Swarupoy Nitya Krishnas, you are eternally servant of Krishna, and you will act on that platform, then overnight you will become fully absorbed in Krishna and you will give up everything. But that's very rare. So, for those of us who are not on that platform of immediately surrendering fully to the Supreme Lord's order, we follow the practice of Krishna consciousness. Slowly and gradually, by implementing the practices of Krishna consciousness, our hearts become purer. And as we become more and more purer, we become more and more attractive to Krishna, to the point that nothing else will matter. But in the present situation, we see our position is that even though we have some attraction for Krishna, we are not fully putting Krishna as the only object of our desire, or the only object of our worship. We have many other things aside that. For example, that all of us who come into this wonderful temple room, and when the curtains open, we are blessed by the divine audience of the Supreme Lord in the form of Radha Gokulananda, Shri Gonita, Shri Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman. And with reverence, we bow down and we put our hands together and offer some prayers. Now, most of those prayers probably are that, dear Lord, please help me and free me from this suffering, rather than saying, Lord, you look so beautiful today, and, glorify the Lord's beauty and other aspects of the Lord's glorification. Instead, we say, I'm suffering, free me. But nonetheless, the Lord is quite happy. Whichever way you pray to Him, at least you're approaching Him. But then when we leave the realms of this temple room and go outside, and you see in the corridors, beautiful picture, framed picture of Radha Gokulananda. What do you say? Oh, it's a nice picture, and just walk past. There's no reverence. But in real understanding, the Supreme Lord is non-different from His form on the altar, in the form of His picture. He's still the same Lord. But we lose that reverence. We don't see Him. So what to speak of this particular purport where Prabhupada is saying that when we are suffering some distress, we see that distress as the Supreme Lord's mercy. We see the Supreme Lord as see the mercy, the distress as the Supreme Lord. We can't see Him in a beautiful picture frame. We admire it, but we don't have the same reverence, although He's the same Radha Gokulananda. We don't have the same reference. So when we are not so mindful and careful to see Krishna everywhere, then you will not see Krishna anywhere. But the training is that as we are praying, when we are performing our devotional activities in terms of sadhana bhakti and chanting and performing every aspect of devotional service, we should be constantly thinking, how I can remember you, dear Lord. And constantly, if we think about Krishna and pray to Krishna that please help me remember you, then you think Krishna is going to be sitting there with his fingers in his ears and say, I am not hearing all this. He is very happy to hear. And imagine that you are sitting in this room and 20 people come here and they all start speaking at the same time. What is your condition? Can you hear anyone? You immediately say, please, one at a time. Because 20 people speaking at the same time, coming with their either complaints or whatever they want to make you hear, you will say, one at a time. then you will hear. But can you imagine? There are billions and trillions of living entities, not only this universe, I mean hundreds and trillions of universe. All these living entities are praying to that one same Supreme Lord. And the Supreme Lord is hearing everyone's prayers. And He is not being disturbed. And He is answering everyone's prayer. But He answers those prayers according to how He feels, because that is His prerogative. Not how we want to be answered. But He will answer His prayers in His own sweet time. Yeah. The other example we can understand is that, as I said, if 20 people come into this room and start speaking about a different subject matter, you won't be able to comprehend it. But if all those 20 people together in unison chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, it will be a very pleasant kirtan. Although I'm not a very sweet singer, but I'm sure we have many wonderful kirtanias, and when you're singing in unison and the kirtan is going on, and we feel quite happy. Even though you have, never mind 20 people, even 10,000 people singing Hare Krishna Kirtan all together, you'll be very, very happy to hear that. It won't disturb you. But if 10,000 people speak all different things at the same time, it will drive you mad. The point is, the Supreme Lord doesn't get disturbed. He gets all different prayers. And He is listening to every one of our prayer. But then, He will answer your prayer according to, He has clearly stated in the Bhagavata, Ye atha mam prapayante, that you reciprocate with me, I reciprocate with you. That is the condition. But we forget all these terms and conditions. We just go with our terms, and we don't think His terms. Ye atha mam prapayante. So, in order to develop that love for Krishna, we have to remember, Ye atha mam prapayante. You will get what you give. So if you don't give much, don't expect much. And then you complain, I've been chanting for the last 30 years, and I'm suffering, and I'm not getting the transcendental bliss and ecstasy. My hair don't stand up, although we shaved hair, so he won't say if they stand up. Anyway, but the point is, that I'm not feeling the shivering of the body and feeling tears flowing out. Well, we cry all the time. You don't see those as ecstasy, do you? And when it's freezing cold, you feel shiver and goosebumps come. You say, wow, that's Krishna consciousness. Wow, I'm feeling Krishna's bliss here. No, you feel cold and you put a jacket on. And you feel some distressful pain or some news which is so sad that your tears are flowing from your eyes. You don't see that as ecstasy. That is tears. See everything as Krishna. And practice. Then when you see everything as Krishna, you will begin to feel the presence of Krishna. And as you begin to feel the presence of Krishna, then that bond will get stronger and stronger, and everything else will not matter. Only thing that matters is Krishna. And you will not feel pain. Just like we read all these different atrocities which was performed upon Prahlad. And Prahlad was not feeling any pain. He was not feeling any distress. Because he was just simply chanting the holy name of the Lord, remembering the Lord, saying, Lord is my protector, come what may, it doesn't matter. This body is useless anyway, whether I feel pain or I don't feel pain, it doesn't matter. And because he's thinking about the Supreme Lord, you don't feel the pain. I will give you one example. How if you think about something other than your pain, then the pain will not be felt. Many years back, I was in Rishikesh, and somehow I had kind of infection in one of my fingers, and the nail was almost dropping off. But it's so painful. So I went to this doctor, and he said, okay, we'll take care of this. So he started touching my finger, and it was so painful. I was, ow, oh, ow, started screaming and kind of making all kinds of sounds. And he said, oh, don't worry. And he said, see, there's something. He pulled my hand. And he drew my attention away from my pain. And he pulled it out. And I didn't feel anything. And I said, oh. And I looked at it, it was all gone. And then he dressed the wound. The point is that because he drew my attention away from the pain was still there, and I was suffering from the pain, even at the slightest touch. But because my attention was elsewhere, I didn't feel the pain. Now, this is just mundane material situation. So can you imagine that if you put your attention to Krishna and think about Krishna all the time, you'll forget your material conditioning. Another material example I'll give you, that sometimes, we are wearing our flip-flops and we may hit a little stone on the path we are walking, and you may have a little injury on your toe and it's bleeding. You don't realize it because at that point your mind is elsewhere. You don't feel any pain or anything. Then later on, when you relax and you look down and say, oh my God, I'm bleeding, and the pain begins to come. But pain was there all the time. But you are thinking about something else, and therefore you don't feel the pain. But as soon as you see an eye is going, hello, bleeding, my toe is bleeding, that means pain. So the mind says, you must feel pain. So you begin to feel the pain. But just imagine that if you are thinking of Krishna, and we put all these things aside, and Krishna is your object in everything, then all this pain and distress will go. Because then Krishna will reciprocate with you. So the point is that we have to try and learn to see Krishna in everything. Not just come in the temple room and see the beautiful Lord, but try to experience about everything we feel, we see, we do. Where is Krishna in this? If you keep training yourself, then you'll begin to see Krishna. Just like in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I'm the taste of water. I said this many times. We drink water every day. We are thirsty, we go look for chilled water. And we are so happy, we get a glass full of chilled water and you say, oh, relief, And you feel so happy. But do you think, this is Krishna? Krishna says, I'm the taste of water. We don't. Because we are not trained. But if you begin to think yourself, every time you see a glass of water, it's, wow, Krishna is a taste of water. You think about Krishna. It will do the quenching of your thirst, but more than that, it will purify your heart because you think of Krishna. Just like Kansa was thinking about Krishna in the womb of Devaki, and he became Krishna conscious. So, when we train ourselves to see Krishna in every aspect, then obviously we will become Krishna conscious very quickly. And as soon as you become Krishna conscious, then you will become transcendental to these material three modes. It won't affect you. You will be completely beyond this material world. Even though you may be in the material world, you will be completely freed from the pangs of material world. And if you want to see this in real practice, you see our own Srila Prabhupada. When Srila Prabhupada was performing his final pastimes in Vrindavan, any person with the right mind would know that the condition Srila Prabhupada is in must be very distressful and painful. And the doctors said, who came to see Prabhupada, we don't know how this person is lying there so peacefully. Said, we have seen people who are lesser conditioned than this are screaming with pain. And we have to administer morphine to subdue the pain and practically make them subconscious. And you see in the hospitals, they put all these drugs in you and make you very groggy and take away the pain from you. But Prabhupada very simply lying there, peacefully. And he said, Kirtan. Other times he said, bring the microphone. And so read the verse from the 10th canto. And Prabhupada is very conscious and very sharp in his mind. The devotee would read the Sanskrit verse, and Prabhupada said, okay, this is the translation. And he was translating the 10th canto, even in that condition. And very pure, very clear, sharp, not misconception or there's some mistake. Because, in our own experience, when we are in a very painful, distressed state, we can't think straight. So you can't do anything properly. You can imagine, you have a terrible stomach ache and you're sitting for exam and you have to write answers to the questions. You know all the answers, but you cannot write it down properly. Why? Because your mind is revolving around the pain center. But Prabhupada was transcended. He was not of this world. Just like in the song we sing, Bhaja Hurayamana, that the water on the leaf of the lotus flower, it is not been touched by the lotus plant. It is free completely. So when we are fully absorbed in Krishna, then we can transcend this material platform. And it is not impossible. It is possible. Only thing is, ye thama prapayante. As you approach Krishna, Krishna will approach you, and then He'll free you. So this is the practice of Krishna consciousness. Of course, in 2 days' time, we'll be celebrating Janmashtami, the divine appearance of the Lord. And as we are approaching Janmashtami, we are thinking about Janmashtami. And of course, here at the manor, at least 2 weeks prior to Janmashtami, everything is buzzing. Many volunteers, devotees are coming and doing service to set up the festival. We think Krishna Janmashtami, Krishna Janmashtami, Krishna Janmashtami. And here, presto, Janmashtami comes and goes, and then you forget Janmashtami. You don't think of Krishna. Why I'm telling this is that prior to Janmashtami, we have hundreds of volunteers come here, and our own in-house devotees are fired up to do service, set up the festival. And on the day, we are engaged in different aspects of devotional service. And then after the festival is finished, place is a wreck, and clean-up time comes and dismantle everything. We are struggling to find volunteers to come and do service. We find even the devotees are saying, "Oh man, Prabhu, I'm tired, I had enough, And we have to sort of think, where is Krishna? Joyously you wanted to serve Krishna. And afterwards, it's painful to serve Krishna. Either way. And Krishna says, well, yetamam prapayante. I'm equal to both. So in one sense, when you come joyously to me, I'm very happy. But then on the other hand, when you're distressed, when you come to me, I'm very happy. And when you're in joy, you don't want to come to me. Because you want to live in your own world. So basically, we should be thinking about Krishna every day. Every day, the moment you wake up, you think it's Sri Krishna Janmashtami. Why? Because it's a new day, a new opportunity to think about Krishna, to serve Krishna. Every day is an opportunity. But not once a year, Janmashtami comes. Janmashtami comes every day. Because Krishna is appearing every day, every moment, in some part of the universe. And this is what Krishna consciousness means, that you think of Krishna all the time. So, if you are so much attached and attracted to Krishna's pastimes as in his childhood day when he appears from the womb of Devaki, and then is transferred to Nandagram, Gokul rather, to Nanda Maharaj's house, and the next day Nanda Maharaj is celebrating the divine appearance of Krishna in his home. If you like that, then you think about that all year round, every day. Because Krishna will appear every day. Every morning you open the curtains, Krishna is appearing. Krishna never Navayovanam, is ever youthful, ever fresh. You and I will age one day. And every day we are aging one more day. Wrinkles appearing, grey hair appearing, eyesight is not working. But Krishna is the same. He doesn't change. He is ever youthful, he is ever fresh, he is appearing every day. But we don't see that spirit. So basically, as Prabhupada explains, that these festivals of the divine appearance of the Lord are a mother of devotion. It is to increase our devotion, our love for Krishna. But if we change that mood slightly and say, he appears every day for me. I'm so happy that this one more day Krishna is appearing for me. Another day for me to serve Krishna. Another day for me to think about Krishna. Then we'll think about Krishna all the time. And in no time, we'll become Krishna conscious. And that is the goal, as Prabhupada explains here in this purport, that is the final goal, to become Krishna conscious. So let us all meditate on this coming festival, that how we can do more and more service and think about Krishna, and then go beyond and keep the same spirit of thinking about Krishna Janmashtami, Krishna's appearance, why Krishna has come, think about Krishna. And if you do continue that, then you will not feel the absence of Krishna Janmashtami after 5th of September. And the next year, when Janmashtami comes again, you'll think, oh, Janmashtami. Think Janmashtami every day. And you'll be a very, very happy person. So it's 8:30. I'll stop here. Thank you very much for your time and consideration. If anybody has any comments, any questions, feel free. Otherwise, we will all get on with our services. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.